Good morning. You're listening to Conservative Cat on Cities 92.9, the news and talk Bloomington Normal. So do appreciate you tuning in this morning. Yes, I've been out for a couple of days. I'm so grateful for your patience. I've been out for a couple of days. I probably sound a little funky. If you listen to me every day, you might be able to tell a difference. I got my wisdom teeth taken out, all four of them. So I thought for sure I was going to be able to recover, pretty quickly, but oh man, it was just awful. If you've ever had your wisdom teeth taken out, it just sucks. So I am back. We are ready to go. We are going to have a live election show on Tuesday night from 7 to 9 p.m. Folks, you won't want to miss that. It is the most anticipated show of the year. We've got three mayoral races, three mayoral candidates in the normal race. We also have three mayoral candidates in the Bloomington race. We're going to take a look at those races. There's very controversial issues like the water quality in Bloomington. There's also the 1% sales tax. We just published on our Facebook page a link to a story. You guys can go check it out, about the McLean County Sheriff investigating these school districts. There's an open investigation into alleged election interference, using public resources to, of course, push this referendum. You guys have been texting me all weekend saying, hey, I just got this mailer from the schools, or I just got this text message from the schools, or this email. And you guys have been telling me about how is this legal? How is this legal? There's so much that has gone on. Kathleen Lorenz, now this is NPR Public Radio. They posted this little web of who's endorsing who and everything. So Lorenz, this was all about Kathleen Lorenz and attacking Kathleen Lorenz. Okay, she's the normal mayoral candidate, and she received a $28,000 contribution from the McLean County Republicans. Okay. Which was really just a pass through, which she said was, from a specific donor, which is legal. And you want to know why it's legal? The Illinois politicians, okay, your Democrat lawmakers with House Bill 4488, they made it to where there can't be any kind of caps. Okay, the caps were only applied to primary races. Now, there are no caps for political parties. Okay, that's what this bill did ahead of the November 5th election in 2024. State legislators approved a measure that Governor J.B. Pritzker enacted into law. He signed it. Okay. There were multiple provisions impacting elections in this election omnibus bill. Okay, it's House Bill 4488. It allows for McLean County GOP, Democrat Party of Illinois, the Illinois House Republican Organization to funnel unlimited dollars to candidates' war chests. Okay, so this is, giving Illinois politicians deeper pockets. Okay, now at the time, you should note the outrage Republicans had on the floor about this bill. So State Representative, a Democrat, Maurice West, he's from Chicago. Okay, he carried the bill in the House. And State Representative Blaine Wilhauer opposed the measure, saying, were the political parties not powerful enough before? Okay, so they'll scream at the sky and say, look at what Democrats look at what Republicans are doing. Kathleen Lorenz, not a Republican, by the way, 100% not a hard right Republican. Okay, might lean a little right, maybe more moderate. I mean, I'm just going to be honest with you. It's just moderate. Okay, that's Kathleen Lorenz. Okay, but she accepted this $28,000 campaign contribution, which is a large contribution, but you have your Democrat lawmakers to thank for that. Okay, they passed this bill to make it to where you can funnel unlimited campaign funds into politicians' war chest. Okay, there's nothing illegal here. They passed a bill to make it that way, and of course, people are going to specific donors. This specific donor had, I don't know if all 28,000 came from this specific donor, but you say this specific donor, right? And he doesn't want his name out there, right? And he wants to use the political party as pass through because, we're living in a kind of crazy time. I don't blame Republicans for not wanting to put their names out there and donate to candidates directly. Okay, that's why political parties kind of exist. So that way you can operate politically without exposing your name and your family. And you can, that's why I like the two-party system. I really do, because it affords you kind of this anonymous status and a community to, assemble. This is just very constant, like it's just freedom to assemble and freedom to back the candidates you want without having to put your name and attach your name to it. Okay. So there's nothing illegal here. I don't like it so much that, political parties can donate. And at the time I opposed this bill, I thought for sure, I was like, this is just outrageous. And the Democrats are going to use this like crazy. Now Republicans use it. And you've got, your Crystal Labels out there. She's a current McLean County board member and she's running for Normal Township supervisor. Chad Burke is also running in that race. But she says this on Facebook and it absolutely blows my mind. The lack of self-awareness that the left has. Okay, this wouldn't even be possible had it not been for her Democrat buddies in Springfield. Okay, it wouldn't even be possible because they extended it to general elections past the primaries. Now, political parties could, donate X amount or infinity amount of dollars, okay, unlimited funds into politicians' war chests, okay? But this bill changed it. So now it's like every election ever, you can, if you're a political party, you can donate as much money as you want, okay? And people are going to use that. Individuals are going to use that law. It's the Democrats who changed the law to make that possible, okay? Because they use the law too. And because Republicans use it, I don't even want to say Republicans use it, okay? This is somebody who probably is a moderate, didn't want their name, out there saying that they had donated to Kathleen Lorenz, and then they used the political party to donate through the political party. Okay. But here's what Crystal Label says. Partisanship aside, this donation is basically money laundering. Crystal, I don't agree with you because it's law. Okay, it's not illegal. There's nothing illegal or really shady going on. Why? Because your people, the Democrats, made it to where it's possible to do this. They did the shady stuff already in Springfield, okay? So it's like, I'll tell you what's shady. Your Democrat friends passing this law to make it a possibility to do this. Okay, so they legalized money laundering at the state level. Okay, but that's where we're at now in the state of Illinois. Okay, anyway, Crystal Label, she says she's a McLean County board member. Campaign finance law says the maximum amount a person can donate to a political candidate or to a political committee is $7,300. The maximum amount you can donate to a political party PAC is $14,600. So it would seem like this person, this anonymous donor who was trying to stay off Chris Goose's radar, has been claimed, but was actually making a deal with McLean County Republicans to circumvent campaign finance law. So you got your laws kind of mixed up. It's unlimited. You can unlimited amount of money can go to a political candidate or to a candidate if it comes from a political party. Okay, so there's no law being broken here. I want to be very clear about that. Why? Because the Democrats passed laws that were shady and they pretty much legalized money laundering. They legalized it to where these politicians can receive infinity dollars, unlimited dollars from the political parties. Okay, these candidates can do that. So these politicians' pockets are deepening because of this law that was passed not that long ago. Anyway, so she just says, wasn't trying to stay off Chris Goose's radar, has been claimed, but was actually making a deal with McLean County Republicans to circumvent campaign finance law by funneling the donation that was more than the maximum allowed to the candidate through the political party instead. Shady. No, you guys do this all of the time. Like Democrats do this all the time. So Crystal Abel, I wonder what she would have to say. And the left, if they didn't have double standards, they wouldn't have standards at all. Okay. So Governor J.B. Pritzker, and this is so much worse because it's not, I mean, it's bending the rules. I don't want to say it's illegal what Governor J.B. Pritzker did. It's definitely bending the rules. This guy didn't even really bend the rules because the rules are that political parties can donate unlimited amount of funds to candidates. Okay, that is the HB. Look it up, 4488. It says that political parties they weren't. So Wilhour, State Representative Blaine Wilhour said, "Were the political parties not powerful enough before? Why do we need this bill?" Blaine Wilhour, a Republican, opposed this measure when it was in the state house, but guess what? It passed through. Why? Because the Democrats have the supermajority in the state house. And then Maurice West, the Democrat, he says we're not making them more powerful. Yes, you are. Okay, like McLean County GOP in this instance just donated $28,000 to deep in the pockets of Kathleen Lorenz. But it's all legal. It's all you're allowed to do that. Why? Because the Democrats made it to where you were allowed to do this. Prior to House Bill 4488, campaign contributions were capped and only applied. Caps were only applied to primary races. Now, both primaries and general elections, candidates can receive unlimited funds from their political parties. Okay. So I want to bring up the Illinois Supreme Court. Okay. Because I wonder what Crystal Label would say about this. She goes, partisanship aside. Okay, partisanship aside. What about Governor J.B. Pritzker, who donated $2 million to the then Illinois Supreme Court candidates? They are now Illinois Supreme Court Justices Mary Kay O'Brien and Elizabeth Rockford, $1 million each. Okay, the governor signed into law in 2022 that those capped contribution limits had to be $500,000 from any single person. And what he did, he kind of bent the rules from any single person, and he donated $500,000 from his political campaign, and then $500 from his personal trust or whatever. Okay, so 500,000. So he's donating over 500,000. He's actually, so this 2022 law is dumb. Because he was like, oh, we're going to cap political contributions. We're going to pretend like we care about ethical behavior and campaign finance. And we're going to pass this campaign finance law, and I'm going to sign it in 2022. But I'm going to, stretch this law, and I'm going to donate 500,000 from this campaign for my political campaign, and then I'm going to donate from my trust. Okay, so Democrats wrote the law. Okay, they know how to use the law to their advantage. They're the ones who made it possible for this pass-through thing to even happen. Okay, and it's not illegal, it's not shady, because guess what? You got people doing it all the time. Look at our own governor, for darn sakes, okay? The Illinois governor, J.B. Pritzker, he donated $1 million to each of these Supreme Court justice candidates. By the way, Pritzker was in a case. He was named as a defendant in a case that they were presiding over, and they didn't recuse themselves because the donation, I guess, wasn't an endorsement, although they should have recused themselves, right? In multiple cases, you had the assault weapons ban, you had the Safety Act that Governor J.B. Pritzker was named as a defendant in. They should have recused themselves, but that's whatever. Look, the left, if they didn't have double standards, they wouldn't have standards at all, okay? And I don't like it either. I wish that the political parties didn't have that much power, but they do. And want to know why? It's because the Democrats originally set it up that way with House Bill 44. What was it? 4488? 4488. Yep. So this is the name of the game. The Republicans opposed it in the state house. They didn't want this to happen, but it happened. And now that Kathleen Lorenz, who isn't a Republican, she's moderate, maybe leans right because she doesn't want to tax you into oblivion, right? A little bit, maybe. I would say, from my personal opinion, is that she might lean a little bit right, but it was mainly moderate. And I think it's fair. And, to try to paint this as shady is just so stupid. You want to know what's really shady? What Governor J.B. Pritzker did, okay, with these Illinois Supreme Court justices, he knew that these guys were going to be presiding over cases that he'd get lodged against him, and he's named and defended, and he knows, that they were going to, so I bought their decision, right? Governor J.B. Pritzker. I mean, this is shady. Okay, what's going on with Kathleen Lorenz and this anonymous donor? This anonymous donor used the party to donate, through the party. That stuff happens all the time. That's why the parties exist. Number one. Now, the large sum, you have your Democrat colleagues to thank for that. Okay, there used to be caps on these kinds of things, but there's not anymore because the Democrats took those all away. So I'm going to be right back. I got off on a tangent there. I was wanting to get to Illinois Governor J.B. Pritzker, rumored to be a 2028 presidential candidate. He's boasting that he's living proof that the gay agenda makes you governor. What? I've actually got it here. Now, he's a reminder of many things, J.B. Pritzker, most notably what to avoid if you don't want to develop preventable diet-related diseases. But he is actually claiming that the gay agenda and being exposed to it as a child made him governor, made it possible for him to be governor. I've got so much to get to. Find me on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, and Rumble. I'm back on air live today. Sorry, guys, I had my wisdom teeth pulled. I'll be right back. Thankful you are back listening, Kathy. So do appreciate you being here. I do want you to smash that like button, share this out with your friends. I'm going to be taking little breaks today, guys, just because my mouth is like on fire. But I'm doing much better. I'm doing much better, but I'm going to be taking a little bit of breaks here in just a second. When we come back, I want to talk about Dan Brady, Cody Hendricks, and how they have very different answers here at this NAACP candidate forum when it comes to the water quality. Okay, Hendricks and Dan Brady, they were, asked this question on water quality, and Cody Hendricks actually said the water rates and the water quality are not connected, which is just such a tone deaf answer, and he ruined his campaign right there. Like that just costed you the election, man. Like, I don't know why you would say something like that. And I don't know why people would vote for you even after saying something like that. I do want to talk about Benjamin Zimmer's response to the water quality issue. It was very simple, but it was genius. I want to talk about that and Governor J.B. Pritzker, because Governor J.B. Pritzker says, the gay agenda or whatever made him governor, which is hilarious. I'm going to take a quick break. We're going to be right back. Going to rest the jaw a little bit. Going to rest the jaw. I can't believe bourbon swish. Yeah, honestly. They gave me antibiotics and like I want to drink so bad. Because like I'm like, oh, I've just had such a stressful week with this wisdom teeth thing because I get a doctor's visits and picking up prescriptions and everything, and I'm on an antibiotic, so I probably can't drink on that. But a bourbon swish, somebody did tell me to do that, do like just swish around some bourbon. No, I'm not doing. I haven't done that, but thank you, Bob, for the recommendation. I wish I could chug a bottle of bourbon right now. It's only 6:23 a.m. No, I'm just kidding. But yeah, the wisdom teeth, if you ever had them both, they suck. It just absolutely sucks. But I'm gonna get better. I'm glad that I can it's it, it's so hard for me because I'm such a talker, and it's so hard for me not to talk. Like the radio person in me just needs to fill that dead air, and like even with my husband and like we're just like in the house and I'm like quiet, and like it just feels so weird for me to be quiet. So I'm going to take a quick break. We're going to be back. We're talking Dan Brady, Cody Hendricks, and their responses to the water quality issue. Hendricks says something that absolutely blows my mind, and it costed him the election for sure. I don't know why you'd continue to vote for him after hearing that. Woo! Good morning. Hey, you're listening to Conservative Cat on Cities 92.9, the news and talk Bloomington Normal. Governor J.B. Pritzker, oh boy, he serves as a reminder of many things. Most notably, I'd say he is a reminder of what not to do to develop preventable diet-related diseases. Okay, so Governor J.B. Pritzker, he said that he claims that exposure to the gay agenda is going to make you governor, and it'll likely help you become governor. Take a listen to this. Here's Governor J.B. Pritzker and what he said.
I first got my start in activism right here in the state of California. As a little kid growing up in Silicon Valley in the 1970s, my mother was an activist for reproductive rights and LGBTQ rights. And she took me to pride parades back when, well, they weren't really parades, they were protests. So I have to laugh when I hear the right wing carry on about the dangers of exposing kids to trans people or same-sex couples, because I'm living proof that introducing your kids to the gay agenda might result in them growing up to be governor.
Somebody actually messaged me and they were like, is Pritzker coming out of the closet? I mean, what's going on here? Yeah, I don't know. I thought this was very odd. And if this was intended to promote the LGBTQ agenda to the unwoke you and I masses, I don't think that really did. I don't think he's going to have much success with this. I mean, this was. Yeah, I still feel the same way that I do, that kids shouldn't be exposed to sexual sexual activities of any kind, or sexual innuendos, or anything like that, or sexual any kind of topic that has to deal with sexual orientation. No, kids shouldn't be exposed to that. I still hold that position. So you didn't do that great of a job anyway. So people are not people are not concerned about their kids being exposed to gender confused individuals, trans people, or even gay individuals, right? People are not concerned about that. What they are concerned about is the ideology, the agenda. What he's talking about here, where, it's all based off of an ambiguous feeling the left made up one day, and it's wrong. And you're using, my tax dollars to really brainwash kids into thinking that this ideology is a safe ideology and it's something that you should adopt. Okay, that's what parents have an issue with. They're not concerned about kids being exposed to trans individuals unless it's in the bathroom and in safe spaces. Of course, I'm going to be worried about that, a man being in a woman's bathroom. But they're not really worried about kids being exposed to trans people or gay people. They're worried about the ideology and you trying to condition them into believing that this is anything more than an ambiguous feeling that Timmy wanted to be Tammy one day. So kids are very, very malleable. And when you start telling them that Timmy can become Tammy, we have a problem. Okay, because it's not only that this ideology is perverted, but it's also a lie. Timmy cannot become Tammy no matter how hard he tries and no matter how many hormones he takes. Okay, so it promotes an ideology that not only teaches people that their existence is wrong, but that it's irreversible. Okay, should they go and they get these Frankenstein procedures, Timmy, it's wrong that you think that you're Tammy. Okay, that's just not true. You're not a woman. You're not a girl. Okay, and then it's even worse because then you try to convince kids that, oh no, that through these Frankenstein procedures, you can actually become Timmy. And that's very, very, it's extremely evil. Okay, to tell them, one, that their existence and who they are is not complete without the Frankenstein procedures and the irreversible procedures and hormone therapies, okay, and puberty blockers. So, number one. Number two, I also think that this is interesting. Governor J.B. Pritzker talks about the gay agenda, and by that, I gay agenda. I thought there was no gay agenda. I remember them talking about, oh, there's no gay agenda. See, and it just inches. We just want to be accepted. No, you're going to bake that cake, that wedding cake for us. No, you're going to teach children to be trans and to change their body parts and that they can be of the opposite sex than they're born with. Okay. So there is an agenda and it's progressing. And they're trying to open up your mouth and shove this ideology down your throat. So he admits that, okay, there was no gay agenda from what, everybody told me that I was a conspiracy theorist, that the gay community, the LGBTQ community, they have been trying to open up your mouth and shove this ideology down your throat, and they're going to progress and progress until they've got more rights than you. Not equal rights, but more rights, and you are going to bend the knee to what they want, and that means teaching children this. So I don't know what he meant really by recommending this agenda for children, but you do the math, right? I don't know it's unclear what he meant by that. But I mean, his family is so deeply rooted in this agenda. Illinois Governor J.B. Pritzker, we know he's got the connection to Hyatt hotels, but his brother Epstein flight logs, right, and his cousin Jennifer Pritzker, retired lieutenant colonel from the Illinois Army National Guard. He owns the Pritzker Military Museum and Library in Chicago. Was a huge supporter and contributor to the Barack Obama family. He owns the Tawani Foundation. He donated to McCain, Romney. He sits on the board of the Chicago Symphony Orchestra. Jennifer Pritzker is worth $1.9 billion. So this agenda, what really is the agenda is this whole business apparatus with Planned Parenthood and the Frankenstein procedures, and his family's going to get rich off of these Frankenstein procedures and these irreversible puberty blockers. And that's what he means by the gay agenda and pushing this gay agenda. You can get rich and you can get power at the expense of these children who are going through these irreversible procedures. According to Fox News, Illinois is one of the most progressive states in the nation when it comes to minors who identify as the opposite sex. Yes, at the age of 12, you don't even have to obtain parent consent, okay, to go and get one of these procedures. You can get it done with the taxpayer dime. I mean, so progressive. So it's unclear why he's obsessed with the gay agenda again for minors. But again, you do the math, okay? Epstein's Island, his brother, right? So you do the math here, and that's all I really need to say is you just do the math. It does not matter how much money his family is worth. Crap like this is just deeply unpopular with the American people. It's deranged to tell Timmy that he can be Tammy and that his existence is wrong and that he can change who he is. It's deeply unpopular with the American people. And, the fact that he feels like his upbringing is proof that the gay agenda needs to be promoted on innocent children. I mean, it's deranged. Okay. That being said, I really don't understand why you would want to talk to a child about anything having to do with sexual body parts or sexual orientation. Why? Because they're kids. You can teach kids to respect all people without promoting the gay agenda. Okay. There's nothing that's that hard about it. You respect all people, but you don't have to promote the gay agenda or fight for more rights rather than equal rights for gay people. Okay. Again, by his own admission, there is an agenda, and he could care less about what you think about that. Governor J.B. Pritzker, he admits with his mouth that there is an agenda, and this is their ultimate goal, that they will have more special rights than you, straight heterosexual person, because they're angry with you. They want more rights and preferential treatment. Okay, that's the gay agenda. It's not about equal rights. This is about special rights and having preferential treatment because they feel they're entitled to it because they don't like you and your sexual orientation. Okay. That's what the gay agenda is all about. I got to take a quick break, but when we come back, we're going to talk about responses to housing in Bloomington Normal. I was just in Bloomington, saw the tent city, totally embarrassing. We're going to talk about, the money that we spent on O'Neill Park pool and park. We're going to talk about the money we spent on the downtown Bloomington streetscape. We're going to talk about the money spent on the downtown public library. And we're going to talk about Dan Beatty's response here about incentivizing developers to build here. And that's how you fix the housing crisis, and take a look at what they've done in Hayworth. I do want to get to also their responses on water quality, because this was really funny. Cody Hendricks, he lost the election with this statement. I mean, I don't know how you continue to vote for Cody Hendricks after he says that water rates and quality are not connected. That's what he actually says in this answer at the NAACP candidate forum. I'm going to talk about it here on the other side. We're going to play bits and pieces from that candidate forum. Find me on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, and Rumble. Hey, good morning. Go ahead, smash that like button, share this out with your friends. When we come back, we're going to be talking about this candidate forum. I do want to play a little bit from these candidates. Mboka, he talked about not wanting to raise taxes, that he's against them. And we're going to talk a little bit about that. So you're going to want to stick around. I'll be right back. I'm back. We are ready. We are rocking and rolling this morning. Have you got your coffee? Okay, because I am buzzed up on coffee. Call me DEI because I am woke. I am awake. The last few days, I've taken a couple of days off because I've had my wisdom teeth pulled. If I sound a little funky on the radio, it might be why. No, I'm feeling much, much better. But surprisingly, like that swelling just would not go down. If you ever had your wisdom teeth pulled, I don't recommend getting them pulled, but it sucks. Yeah, I had to. They were coming in, and I was like, I gotta go get this done. And I'm feeling so much better though. It's crazy, like how fast your body heals. I was hoping that I'd like wake up and I'd be like, okay, I can go get back on the air. But no, like I sounded like a chipmunk and like my cheeks were just so full. But I appreciate you guys' patience. We are going to do an election show on Tuesday from 7 to 9 p.m. You'll want to tune in for that. It is the most anticipated show of all year, and I am so excited. For that show, we are going to be chatting a little bit about Bloomington and the water quality and the water rates here in just a second. But before I get to that story, I want to talk about this story we published on cities929.com. You can head there. We've got local news for you all of the time. You can go there, find the stream, the YouTube, the Rumble, everything. We have content for you at cities929.com. But this is interesting. A voter, Christo Ortiz Palafox, Christo, he reached out to our tip line and he sent us some emails between he and Jenna Kearns, the Ward 1 incumbent, regarding her decision not to recite the Pledge of Allegiance. We know that Jenna Kearns doesn't say the Pledge of Allegiance. She doesn't say the words. She stands, but she doesn't say the words to the Pledge of Allegiance. And people have always been pretty confused by that. But he got down to the bottom of why she doesn't do it. So he found out that the council member participates in quiet reflection instead of saying the Pledge of Allegiance out loud. So Christo, he asked Jenna Kearns a series of questions in an email to try to understand the reasoning behind Kearns's decision to not say the Pledge of Allegiance out loud at the Bloomington City Council meetings. Okay, he tried to understand her reasoning through these series of emails. Now, in a response, Kearns suggested the two of them meet in person or discuss the matter over the phone. Christo, good for you. Okay, you have to, if you are pressing your government officials, don't fall into the trap of getting on the phone or meeting in person, because here's what they're trying to do. They're trying to avoid FOIA. They're trying to avoid email receipts, correspondence. If you're trying to get your public official on the record, always try to do it in print, try to get it in text message form, because if Michael Madigan, and I want to be very clear about this, Michael Madigan did this type of stuff where he did not use a cell phone. He didn't, he tried to stay away from print, emails, things like that. It's even rumored that he didn't even have a cell phone, okay, and that he would just conduct all of his meetings in person. So there's a lot of proof here in McLean County, Bloomington Normal specifically, that there is a lack of transparency. I want to be very clear. There's been several emails, one from Patrick Maneri, who's running for Unit 5 school board unopposed, so he's going to be your Unit 5 school board member. And he has an email out there saying, should you prefer to send information during or via other methods? Many people are seeking FOIA requests concerning these topics. Please don't share or your opinion with me over email, right? This is like so shady. When you have people like saying, call me, don't send me emails because they're subject to FOIA, okay? Now, Jenna Kearns, she said, thanks for reaching out. Meet with me in person or call me. Christo, he goes, no. In the spirit of transparency, I'm going to ask you to answer via email. Good for you, Christo. And then also I want to bring up Brian Day. He does this again. Like, I'm just seeing a pattern here where he says, please note that this email and any responses may be subject to FOIA. Please feel free to reach out to me at the telephone numbers below. If you believe your response could contain sensitive information. Like this working around trying to avoid email correspondence. This is a very Michael Madigan-esque, like the character, like this is like Michael Madigan and his avoidance of cell phone and email And that was very, very documented in his corruption case that he was found guilty of. So the fact that we have that here locally, the patterns popping up, that should concern you as a Bloomington Normal resident, and you should vote transparency. But yes, with this story, he gets to the bottom as to why she doesn't say the Pledge of Allegiance. Kind of. She says that I do participate in the Pledge of Allegiance by standing at attention facing the flag and honoring the gravity of that moment at the beginning of council meetings. While it is true I do not say the pledge out loud, as a substitute for those words, I take time to reflect on my gratitude for the opportunity to serve my community. I'm going to come back. We're going to dive into this story a little bit more. Why does Jenna Kearns not say the Pledge of Allegiance? Why does she not recite the words with her mouth and say the words out loud? She admits that she doesn't. She keeps her mouth closed and she stays silent. And she won't say the Pledge of Allegiance. Instead, she takes the time to quietly reflect on her gratitude for the opportunity to serve her community, my community. Me, I, my. Like, the whole point of the Pledge of Allegiance is to, recognize the sacrifices of others. When you've made the Pledge of Allegiance about a reflection time for yourself, it kind of defeats the purpose of the pledge, right? This is a time to not think about yourself and think about other people. And she goes, it's a reflection on my gratitude for the opportunity to serve my community. It's all about her, and I don't know. I'll get to what Christo Ortiz Palafox said. Here on the other side, you're listening to Conservative Cat. Hey, go ahead, smash that like button, share this out with your friends. I so do appreciate it. Paper trails, yeah, they're trying to avoid paper trails. And I don't like that at all. It's remnant. It reminds me of Michael Madigan and what he's doing or has done all his life, and all his political career, avoiding emails, trying to meet people in person, trying to get people on the phone and talk to them. And anytime you have a public official saying things like, these are subject to FOIA, you might want to call me, that is your sign to vote them out. That is your sign to get them out of office. Thanks for the time, Kat, or thanks, Kat, for all the time you keep us informed. Thanks for listening. You guys are so sweet. When we come back, we're going to continue with this, Christo. Your name is so hard to say, Ortiz Palafox. If I wasn't all wisdom teethed up, I probably would be able to say that better. But he says the Pledge of Allegiance is more than just a routine statement. It's a solemn commitment to our country and the values that define us as Americans. Christo, he said the pledge represents sacrifices for our freedoms that were made, and choosing not to recite this, in his view, is a rejection of that commitment. Yeah, so Kearns' responses to a series of questions and emails sent by Christo affirm that she has no issue with the pledge, okay, or the liberty, justice for all. She has no particular, religious convictions, right? That would prohibit her from saying one nation under God, no strong religious convictions. So, yeah, the Pledge of Allegiance, don't know why she doesn't want to say it. Instead, she just sits there quietly and thinks about herself. And I like what Christo says here. He told Cities 92.9, yet despite having no personal or religious exemptions, he refuses to say or recite the words of the pledge. This leads me to believe that her decision is not one out of principle, but political symbolism. This is not about partisanship. It's not about. It's about honoring our nation. Okay, and if the Pledge of Allegiance matters to you as it does to me, I encourage voters to consider this when casting their vote for Ward 1. Our leaders should stand, not just stand for, not just stand during, or they should stand for, not just stand, for the traditions that unite us. So they should stand for those traditions as well. So we're going to get back to that story here in just a second. Smash that like button, share this out with your friends, and subscribe to the channel. Woo! Hey, good morning. You're listening to Conservative Cat on Cities 92.9, the news and talk Bloomington Normal. Before we took the break, I was telling you about Cristo Ortiz Palafox. He sent some email correspondence back and forth between he and Jenna Kearns. Jenna Kearns is the incumbent Ward 1 Bloomington City Council member. And he talks about this where, hey, what's the reasoning? What's the reasoning? And Kearns said this, quote, I do not participate in the Pledge of Allegiance, or I do participate in the Pledge of Allegiance by standing at attention facing the flag and honoring the gravity of that moment at the beginning of council meetings. It is true, I do not say the pledge out loud as a substitute for the words. I take time to reflect quietly, so she doesn't say the words, reflect on my gratitude for for the opportunity to serve my community. My reflection. The whole point of saying the pledge is to not think about you. When I say recite the Pledge of Allegiance, I don't think about me. I think about the people who died for the country, who shed blood and sacrificed themselves for my country's freedoms. Okay, so during the pledge, I don't think about me, and I don't. No. So Kearns continued in the email. She says, I strive to uphold the meaning of the pledge, even though I do not recite the words out loud. Cristo Ortiz Pavalos, to him, he said that the Pledge of Allegiance is more than just a routine statement. It's a solemn commitment to our country and the values that define us as Americans. Ortiz Palafox said that the pledge represents the sacrifices made for our freedoms. Yes, and choosing not to recite this, in his view, is a rejection of that commitment. And then Kearns, she responded to a series of questions that prove she affirmed that she has no issue with the Pledge of Allegiance, the words in it. She believes in liberty and justice for all. She has no strong religious convictions or religious beliefs. So she says that she's not a member of any specific church. And as an elected official, I would never dream of interfering with anybody's right to believe in God or a higher power, practice their religion. So she has no strong religious convictions that prohibit her from, saying things like God and one nation under God. And I like what Cristo says here. He says, yet despite having no personal or religious objection, she refuses to recite the words. This leads me to believe that her decision is not one out of principle, but political symbolism. This is not about partisanship. It's about honoring our nation. The Pledge of Allegiance matters to you as it does to me. I encourage you as voters to consider this when casting your vote for Ward 1. Our leaders should stand for, not just stand during, the traditions that unite us. That's what he said. they should stand for, and he thinks that she should recite the pledge. I think so too. I mean, what's so hard about reciting the pledge and like taking it as a time to reflect on you and your gratitude and like the opportunity to serve the community? So you're thinking about your political career and like why you're there and like the gratitude that you have to be serving in this as a politician. I mean, that's kind of like totally not the point of the pledge, right? The point of the pledge is to think about the people who died. And you think about everybody who shed blood for the country. All right, I got to take a quick break, but you're listening to Conservative Cat. I think about standing for the Constitution. Yeah, so I like to talk about this as the, Jesus died for my spiritual freedom and for my my salvation, right? But the people here on earth, the people of this country, the men and women in the military, they died for our earthly freedom, our country, our sovereignty, and for us to be able to have such an amazing country, right? People died for that. So I think about that when I'm, reciting the Pledge of Allegiance. I think about how great God is. I think even about God and one nation under God, which Christian nationalism, yeah, spooky Christian nationalism. Yeah, although like all of our presidents swear on the Bible, put their hand on the Bible and swear an oath to the country, on the Holy Bible. But Christian nationalism is taking over. Christian nationalism, yeah, it's a thing. It's like quite literally what this country is all about. Like our presidents swear in on the Holy Bible, you know what I mean? And we have a Pledge of Allegiance that says one nation under God. Like all of a sudden they're like, Christian nationalism. See, they want to do away with the pledge. They want to do away with the Bible and Judeo-Christian values. They had the Bible open right as they were writing that Constitution. Okay, so this whole separation of church and state, it's not separation from the church, by the way. Separation of church and state. That's totally bogus when people use that and they're like, oh, the church and the state shouldn't be, they shouldn't be commingled. No. Really what that's all about is that the government can't come in and tell you how to practice your religion. Okay, so the government can't come into church and say, oh, I don't like your message, pastor, your message is wrong. That's what that's all about. The government can't come in and start telling churches how to preach and how to read the word. Okay, that's what that's about. It doesn't mean that we keep church away from our government. Okay, we keep government away from our church. Okay, that's what that means. Separation of church and state doesn't mean that the church is separated. It doesn't mean that you can't have, religious convictions while serving in government. In fact, spooky Christian nationalism. Yeah. So it's like this boogeyman. It's like, are you serious? Like, is nobody going to point out that Joe Biden swore in on a Holy Bible and that most Democrats swear in on the Holy Bible? And all Democrats, except Jenna Kearns, recite the Pledge of Allegiance. And then they say one nation under God, and they pledge this nation under God and they pledge that, and then they're going to be like, oh, Christian nationalism is taking over. Christian nationalism, what the hell are you talking about? Of course this nation is based on Christianity. Like, look at everything that we do. Look at our Constitution. They had the Bible open with the Constitution, like while they were writing the Constitution. So don't give me this. Christian nationalism is taking over. Water quality around Bloomington Airport and Eastland Mall all have some kind of chemical flavor to it. I dined at 5 of the restaurants in that area, and the quality is all chemical flavor. What is Bloomington putting in their water? Yeah. Well, and that's the thing is, when you so water treatment, I mean, I'm not a water specialist, but what I've heard from experts, you can't just like treat the water like randomly one day and like do a bunch of it or like a bunch of the water treatment. So it's called PAC, the powdered activated carbon. I guess that treats the water and it kills algae. And they're putting a ton of it in there right now. Okay, so because they haven't been treating it this whole time, I guess they suspended it in the early 2000s. They suspended it to reduce costs, treating the water. Some people put fluoride in the water, some people put carbon in their water. To me, if we were to have a lake source, which is something that they should look into, some sort of aquifer, some sort of drilling, I don't understand why we can't use the Muhammad aquifer. I'm not privy to that information. But I don't know why we're still on lake source water. It doesn't make any sense to me. There's got to be another way, right? So they should look into that. It's going to be really expensive, but I'll tell you right now, Bloomington Public Library, Aqua Center, the downtown streetscape, all of those totaled up probably pretty similar to the cost that it would take to transfer the water. Maybe not. Maybe it'd be more expensive, but I mean, we should be saving our pennies, and we should be, I don't know, focused on basic infrastructure. So yeah. Hey, good morning, Christo. I'm glad that you were here. I'm sorry if I butchered your name. My cheeks are a little swollen, so it's kind of hard to say that. Palafox, Ortiz Palafox, Christo. Welcome to the Red Kingdom. You're listening to Conservative Cat Cities 92.9. I think we're going to have special guest Benjamin Zimmerman. He's running for Ward 1 in Bloomington. Before we took the break, I was telling you about Jenna Kern. She's in that ward. She's the incumbent. She doesn't say the Pledge of Allegiance out loud. Christo had messaged Cities 92.9, sent a message into our tip line with a bunch of emails. Good for you, by the way, for demanding transparency and getting Kearns to answer via the email in the spirit of transparency. Yes, always get your government officials to leave a paper trail if you are inquiring about their actions, and get a paper trail. Okay, Michael Madigan, we had to deal with that all in the state of all of the state of Illinois has had to deal with corruption like no other state in this nation. Okay, and we need to learn from this. And Michael Madigan, his avoidance of cell phones and emails is well documented in his corruption case. And I'm seeing a pattern pop up. Jenna Kearns, Patrick Maneri, Brian Day, they're all talking about, hey, call me instead of emailing me. Okay, some of our emails are subject to FOIA. It would be better if you called me. It would be better if we met in person. And this is super concerning. We need transparency in Bloomington Normal. We need to wake up. This is Michael Madigan politics at a local level. Anytime you have an appointed official or a public official in any kind of way saying that they don't want to talk over email, or saying like, hey, these emails are subject to FOIA, be careful how you respond to me. Anytime you have somebody saying that, you should probably get them out of office ASAP. That probably is a good sign that they are really, really cruddy individuals. If they want to avoid transparency and avoid paper trails, that's probably a pretty good sign that they're not in it for your best interest. Okay, so I want to talk about this. This is NAACP forum, and I think we're going to be able to hear it. It's a little quiet, but we'll see how it does over the air. This was the NAACP candidate forum, and I want to start with the housing. So in Mboko Mwambe, he said that they're going to address Bloomington zoning. Okay, now I want you to be very careful, because State Representative Kim Buckner, he introduced a ban for single-family housing. Now, I'm really worried if Cody Hendricks definitely gets in, or even Mboko, what they're going to do with zoning regulations and requirements. Okay, they're going to try to make it easier and harder maybe for single family housing, because you can't get as many houses on top of each other. Multifamily housing, obviously you can get more and more houses on top of each other, and housing units on top of each other, duplexes, quadplexes, whatever the case. They're going to try to incentivize that sort of development, and that's not something we should be in the business of doing as the city of Bloomington. It's really none of our business. Developers understand the business, and they're going to develop what is going to work in that area. Okay, so I don't think that we should be like loosening restrictions for multifamily zoning, or making single family zoning harder, okay, for Bloomington to build single family homes in Bloomington. State Representative Cam Buckner introduced a ban for certain cities, like large cities, including, if Bloomington Normal were to be together, they were, population requirements and thresholds. If you had a certain amount of people living in your city and living in your area, then you'd have to abide by this single family ban, zoning ban, which means that, developers won't have the freedom to build single family homes. And these are your homes where you can have children, right? And what this is really all about, and what I don't even think that Boca or Cody Hendricks, maybe Cody Hendricks understands, what this is really all about, it's about BlackRock and these big corporations, these corporate landlords, these huge, huge businesses coming in building these multifamily housings units, and they're making all of the money. Okay, and we're putting all kinds of red tape on our local landlords, your neighbors, your friends. Okay, they're getting all kinds of red tape, bureaucracy at the state level, and mandates that they have to follow, and they're leaving the state. They're moving because they can't be a landlord, they can't own property. They make it harder for you to build what actually works. In Americans culture, our culture is single family. Okay, it's a house, it's kids, it's driving into the city for work, 20-minute commute. Okay, that is how America was built. That is just how American culture is. Okay, and these developers understand what works and what doesn't. And if you're going to start like playing games with the zoning, that's bogus, because really what would probably wind up happening here is you're going to play games with the zoning, and you're going to make it easier for corporate landlords to set up shop and make money here. And of course, Governor J.B. Pritzker wants that. All the Democrats want that. Why? Because BlackRock is funneling money into their campaign coffers, okay? Or they're funneling money into their nonprofit organizations. So, for example, BlackRock, they made a donation to the Tides Foundation. In exchange, by the way, they're the asset managers of the Illinois Secure Choice Program, the retirement program, by the way. So they're making billions off of Illinoisans' retirement, by the way, by managing those assets. And he did that as a probably thank you for the for donating to the Tides Foundation. But there's a connection there between BlackRock and Democrats. Okay, they largely support Democrats. I think it's like 70-30. They support Republicans 30%, Democrats 70%. And really, what this is all about is getting those big corporate landlords to come in and build these little shoe boxes for you to live in. That's what this is about. And if we really want to address the housing crisis, we need affordable housing. We need these developers to have the freedom to develop what they want to develop. They know what's going to work. They know what houses they can fill. They know, right, what will work. And what works in America is single family. Okay, you do need multifamily housing, but playing games with the zoning is not a way to fix the housing crisis. Okay, build, 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 build. Make it easier for people to build, and make it easier on landlords to own property, okay, and to charge people rent and make it easy on them. And then you're going to fix the housing crisis, okay? So take a listen. Here we go. So this is in Boca.
That's a no. So there's your no fluff right there. No, over the next 4 years.
So that was in
Number
Boca.
one, when you talk
Here's
about
Dan Brady.
affordable housing issue, it means different things to different people. But affordable means affordable. We cannot build housing that people can't afford. What good is that? How's that going to tax the problem? So we have to work with the developers, the investors, and people who want to come to Bloomington and build. And we have to do that by way of incentivizing, making investments for those individuals to give them incentives in which to do so. Everything from cutting the red tape, everything from dealing with what the city council can and can't do to make things easier for those developers. Now, when you look at communities around here, you don't have to look too much further than Hayward, who's done an excellent job of making what's truly affordable. And they've done that by working and bringing people in with incentives. The other is the question about the tax increase. Number one, I talked about prioritizing spending. I'm not going to ask for the citizens of Bloomington to ante up for a tax increase before we tighten our belt and make sure we're doing everything in city government to make as streamlined as possible our expenditures and what we're doing for the people and the citizens and the services we provide.
Okay, so that was Dan Brady. Before you had heard Mboka Mwamba, he says that he's not a proponent of taxes. Okay, Mboka, he can't say that and then also in the same breath do all of these all of these silly projects. You got the Bloomington Public Library that costed approximately $25.4 million, and then you also have the downtown Bloomington streetscape. Like I said, it's kind of dumb, walkability, lighting, expanded public art, whatever. $59 million. Okay, and it's probably for a project that people aren't really going to care about because guess what? Like I said, American culture says, hey, we want to commute, 20-minute commute. We don't, hang out, in these areas, or we don't live in these areas, right? And they're trying to get people to live in these areas on top of each other. And it just isn't a proven model. Study after study shows that people prefer single family housing 20 minutes outside of the city, okay, or 20 minutes outside. So downtown Bloomington streetscape plan, $59 million, library, $25 million. Then you've got the O'Neill Pool and Park project that was $13.9 million. Okay, Mboka, you can say that you're not a proponent of taxes, but when you do all these projects, that comes from somewhere. Okay, the 59 million, the 13 million, the 25 million, that comes from somewhere. We have to tighten our belt, like Dan Brady said. Hey, incentivize for developers to build here. That's a smart move. It was a smart move to say that the city should do everything that they can to tighten their belt so we don't have to increase taxes to provide these incentives, because incentives, that's going to cost money as well for these private for developers to come in and build. It's going to cost money for them and to incentivize them. Okay, so that's more money. And then people are concerned, hey, if we're incentivizing these developers to build, is that going to cause a tax increase? Well, what did Dan Brady say? We need to tighten up our belt, look at our expenditures. We shouldn't be spending on things like a pool, okay? $13 million for a pool that's open, 2 months out of the year? Maybe. We live in the state of Illinois, right? So that was Dan Brady. We're going to listen to Cody Hendricks now.
Yeah, housing affordability is huge for me. It's my number one issue of why I'm running for mayor. And we really, are past due for action that needs to happen, right? We needed action years ago when we had information come from the EDC and the Regional Planning Commission that said, here's what we're dealing with. Here are the steps we could take. The first step was to set up a commission between the county, the town, and the city to be able to tackle that. We've not done that yet. It's something that I would support to increase that collaboration and communication. Real key steps that we could do, number one is review our zoning code, right? We as the council members have been advocating that for years. I think we're finally getting somewhere, but we really need to review all aspects of it, from parking minimums and ADUs and lot sizes, and we need to do it in a responsible way. Some people think that just because we're getting rid of it, everything, it's the Wild West now. And that's not really what we're advocating. We're just advocating for a review and a renewal of that. Rehabilitation of properties. We've got 1,000 properties that are not online for housing right now. So we need to find ways that we can either incentivize through reduction in property taxes, or something that I would support is a vacancy tax system, which we can't do right now through the state, but it's something that I would advocate for if I were elected mayor. And then also, supporting mixed use housing, right? We've got that missing middle with triplexes and duplexes, and we need an across the board swath of housing if we're ever going to tackle this. And so, there's a lot of action that we could be taking, including the incentivizing developers by waiving 100% of city fees that came before us last month, and we still have not voted on. But we need that leader to push those things forward to actually take votes on that.
Okay, so there's Cody Hendricks, his response, and notice how he said, yeah, number one, zoning. Like I said, you don't want to really touch, because I hate when government touches zoning. Like, really, I just wish that we didn't have any of it, right? And we would just let, developers decide what they want to build, right? But single family housing is under attack at a state level, and probably going to be under attack at a local level as well. When they say review zoning, that is a big red flag, folks. That means that they want to tip the scales in the favor of certain developers rather than other ones, people who specialize in multifamily housing, people like BlackRock or big corporate landlords who specialize in multifamily housing. And that is not the demand, right? Demand is usually the single family housing. Now, I'm not saying I'm totally anti multifamily housing, but it really scares me when people say, well, we are going to review our zoning, especially when you consider things that are happening at a state level where they have looked into banning single family home or zoning for larger cities. So I got to take a quick break, but you're listening to Conservative Cat Cities 92.9, the news and talk Bloomington Normal. Hello. Hey, good morning. You're listening to Conservative Cat Cities 92.9. We're talking about the housing and the responses from the mayoral candidates for Bloomington. And really, I'm concerned when people bring up the zoning regulations. They want to, change the zoning regulations. And really, what I think is going to wind up happening is if they get in there, they're going to change to where it's impossible to build single family houses, and they're going to make it easier to build multifamily housing. Why? Because they want the corporate landlords to come in. They want them to build these shoe boxes right up on top of each other, and they want you to live in these 15-minute walkable cities. And really, that's anti-American. I'm just going to be honest with you. It's anti-American. And yeah, I think that they shouldn't play around with the zoning regulations and, pick winners and losers. When it comes to zoning, they're picking the winner of multifamily housing. They're deciding that that's the winner. And that's what I'd be worried about with the zoning requirements and them changing them. So yeah, they should be working with developers, zoning requirements, and they should come to an agreement of like, hey, this area is a good area for single family, this area is industrial, this area is commercial, right? They should be working with the developers on that. And I highly doubt, your neighbors, okay, and your developers here in the community are going to be saying like, oh yeah, we're just going to build multifamily housing, and like that's what people want. Highly doubt that. And I think that's their goal, is the multifamily housing only, and they're going to build on top of each other, and um, that's not something that I think is a way to address the housing. What you want to do is take the red tape off of your neighbors, your developers that are here in your community. Take the red tape off and allow them to build, and don't mandate things of our small landlords. Making it easier for corporate landlords to come in and charge you and to charge you an arm and a leg, and they are the ones who benefit, and we don't benefit, or your neighbors don't benefit, and the people in your community don't benefit. It's these people like BlackRock with these multifamily housing units. All right, I want to play water quality because this lost Cody Hendricks the election 100%. I think the statement about how water quality and water rates aren't connected. This is Dan Brady, and then I'm going to play Cody Hendricks just so you can see the contrast here. Take a listen.
Mayor in the city of Bloomington, you talk to people, that's not a really good combination. They're not very happy about that, ladies and gentlemen. And I understand that. That's why if you want to go to votedanbrady.com, you can read my particular plan dealing with water and what we could do. One of the things right now we could be doing is looking at how we're going to dredge up at Lake Bloomington, why the lake is so low, so we don't face these kind of problems, number one. Number two, what are we going to do about, instead of waiting till a lake goes so far down, instead of getting so low, instead of balancing those lakes and drawing from both? There's expertise, help out there to water companies throughout the state that if I were mayor and we were in this situation and I was mayor, that I'd be looking at and working with right now, and advocating for. I would also just simply like to say that the important part of what the situation with the water is the money we're now spending for things that should have been done years ago. So keep in mind, the fact is, if we continue to spend that money and we don't see improvements, what have we created then? A bigger mess. And it's going to take somebody who's going to be diligent every day as your mayor, working with the experts in this area to make sure Bloomington has good, clean, safe, and good tasting water.
Okay, so that was Dan Brady, and Cody Hendricks is here. Here we go.
When those decisions were made, but it's something that I talk about often on the city council, which is, we put off those decisions, whether it be for cost savings or political moves or whatever it is, but in the end, we're going to have to pay for it one way or the other. And so they should have been increasing it little bit by little bit over those years. But that issue is not connected to the issue that we're seeing right now with the lakes. The city does pull from both lakes. Unfortunately, we are well aware of the fact that Lake Evergreen is the lake that has more of the taste issues. And so we did go too low this time. But we're also, dealing with the challenges of climate change, which is the elephant in the room that we need to also talk about, right? We are seeing less precipitation going into that. We are dealing with warmer weather, which has increased, algae rates within.
Okay. So that was Cody Hendricks. He was talking about the water rates. They weren't increasing the water rate over time, and now they've increased it. I think it's the last 3 years by like 33%. It's going crazy, and May 1st, I think, is when your water rate goes up. And then it's going to continue to go up for the next couple of years by an insane amount. And right there, I don't know how that doesn't lose him the election, where he says that the water rates and the water quality are not connected. In your head, it is connected. And like, he's trying to gaslight you into thinking that those two things don't connect, and they do. When you're paying a ton of money for water that sucks. Somebody actually was just on the comment section. They were saying, what's going on? I was in Bloomington. I went to 5 different restaurants. There's a chemical flavor. What is Bloomington putting in their water? I don't know, Scott, to be honest with you. I don't know how they're going to address it, but it's the PAC, the powder activated carbon. Now they're putting a ton of it in to trade it. They're flying by the seat of their pants. And like, Dan Brady had alluded to, fixing the problem. I like to give this example, the Drano in the sink, right? If you're going to throw Drano down the sink and you keep buying the Drano and you're not fixing the pipes underneath, you're just going to waste a ton of money. And they're flying by the seat of their pants. And they talk about lake dredging. I don't know. I hope that we can do like some sort of aquifer or some sort of drilling, some sort of water, like the wells. I think that would be better than dredging up the lake and lake source water just in general. But I don't know. I'm not a water expert. But Benjamin Zimmerman, he's running for Ward 1 against Jenna Kearns. And he's running for Bloomington City Council, folks. So he's going to be on your ballot tomorrow. If you haven't voted, go vote April 1st. Historically, these are pretty low voter turnout. But Ben, thanks so much for joining me. I want to get your take on the water. Just to tell you, Scott Testry used email or commenting on the show. Water around Bloomington Airport specifically has a really chemical flavor to it. If elected, what are you going to do about the water quality situation as in your role as Bloomington City Council member? And thanks so much for being here.
You're welcome. Thank you. I really appreciate you having me on this morning. The water situation currently, as you know, around town is horrible. I think it's gotten a little bit better over the past few weeks. They did implement some carbon solutions. I don't know exactly what those carbon solutions were. My understanding, based on one of the interviews that I heard, was that they were putting some activated carbon into the tanks and filterizing the water that way. But with activated carbon, you have to pass the water through the carbon in order for it to be effective. Otherwise, you're just kind of absorbing smell, taste, chemicals, or whatever out of the water surrounding that carbon. So you have to really pass all that stuff through the carbon. I believe that's the PAC system that they're advertising that they're going to put online, which is good. That's a step in the right direction. I think that step should have been taken a long time ago. As you're aware, the water increased 33% last year, 33% again this year, and next. So the water rates just keep going up, and yet we're told the water isn't really being prioritized as far as the water quality that we're tasting. All of that money is going towards infrastructure improvements, which also need to be done. We're in the situation that we're in currently because those things haven't been done yet. So we need to prioritize the water system moving forward and make sure that we're providing great water for all of Bloomington. It's a basic fundamental thing that everybody needs. So it's got to be one of our top priorities, 100%.
Yeah, and I'd be curious. I don't know if you've looked into this at all, but they talked about dredging up the lake, which would just be like deepening the lake.
Sure.
But also aquifers, drilling, and doing some wells, maybe, or just getting off lake source water. I don't know too many municipalities. I know there are some out there. Typically out west, they do a lot of these lake source water things, which is interesting. I just kind of like went down a little rabbit hole, and I was like, out west they do a lot of lake source water, but I feel like we don't need that, especially because we've got this huge Muhammad aquifer. I don't know why we don't get in a piece of that action in Bloomington, but I don't know. I'm not a water expert, but do you think that there's got to be a more long-term solution transitioning off of the lake source water?
Yeah, definitely. We've had the solution for a very long time. The aquifer that you mentioned, face value also seems like a good idea, but I'm under the understanding now that they're having some level issues also, and that's starting to become an issue. So, yeah, we definitely need to look at new solutions. We need to hire the right experts to come in and, give some bids on here are your options and what do these options look like and what do they cost? and let's explore all of those. Looking forward, there's multiple ways to treat water. You have RO, DI, reverse osmosis, deionization. You have UV filtration, passing the water through UV, ultraviolet light, to purify it. There's the activated carbon, obviously, that we've already talked about. Ozone is an option. You dump the water into a chamber, treat it with ozone, and then pass the water back over carbon to remove the ozone, and you get super pure water that way. There's lots of modern methods to good, clean water, and so we need to explore all those options. For sure.
Well, we're talking with Benjamin Zimmerman. He's running for Bloomington City Council. He's going to be on your ballot tomorrow, folks. So go vote April 1st. April 1st tomorrow. Ben, I wanted to talk with you also about housing. We were talking about that a little bit. There's been talk about changing zoning requirements. How would you address the topic of housing in Bloomington? I was actually just through their tent city. I was looking and it was just so sad. So sad.
Yeah.
A lot of these people are, living in tents. So homelessness and housing, kind of two separate issues, but
Right.
kind of not really, right? So
Right.
how would we address one, homelessness? Maybe answer that one first, and then the housing crisis here in Bloomington.
The homelessness situation, we really need to support. First of all, there's a humanity issue here. Everyone, needs to take care of each other and making sure that we're taking care of our humankind. And I don't want to ignore the humanity aspect of that. We need to support the ministries that are currently offering solutions to those people, Home Street Home Ministries, the Salvation Army. We need to best support those people as best as we can as a city and as humans. People offering their time to volunteer is going a long way with those efforts. But again, we just really need to support those existing efforts in the private entities. As far as bringing in affordable housing, we need to, pave the ways with zoning to make it easier for developers to come in and entice them to actually be able to make money here. My understanding from listening to some of the developers' conversations is that they can go build in other cities for cheaper, get done with their permits and get through the building process sooner and make more money doing so. So we just really need to reduce the red tape as far as allowing builders to come in, maybe repurpose some of the existing abandoned properties, resell those to developers for pennies on the dollars and get them, again, entice them to come in and actually build here. You look at the market, like the majority of the market is more than $400,000 homes. And for the average person like myself with a family of 5, that's really not an affordable option if we were to look to move. Luckily, we are in a house now that we've been here for 20 years and we're settled and we're good. We decided, 4 or 5 years ago that we were just going to stay here. So we've been making some improvements to our own home. But if we were to want to sell our house right now and move, where would we go? There's not really a good upgrade path, if you will.
I want to talk about the zoning because I agree with you. I'm just going to share my opinion. 100%.
Sure.
I think relaxing all, and that's where I kind of get like biting my nails, and I'm kind of nervous. Depends on who's in there, yourself or your opponent, Jenna Kearns. What is she going to do when it comes to the zoning? Because I feel like government officials with the zoning laws, they could really tip the scales in the favor of maybe some of these larger corporations who come in. And we want, as much housing as possible. But like you said, I'd imagine you're in a single family residential area, a house, and, there's Bloomington residents who want to move. But there are no single family houses available. And my fear, just because what I'm hearing on a state level, is that there's going to be this push to, incentivize multifamily housing, and we're going to, keep the requirements on single family housing zoning areas. For example, the Single Family Zoning Ban Act is actually what this is called. And I haven't seen a ton of movement on this, but it's at a state level, and his name's State Representative Cam Buckner. He said that this ban on single family zoning in areas with populations over 100,000. So I think that's Bloomington. I'd have to look into the population, but thresholds. But there's population. So larger areas, they're going to ban single family zoning. And when people talk about zoning requirements, specifically, maybe people who are pro multifamily housing or pro getting as much housing as possible, I feel like I don't know. There's a fear there that I have. You understand my fear, Ben?
Well, there's fear with public safety, that type of thing. I mean, anytime you start putting compact housing together where you have so many people living in a small space, yes, those fears come in, especially when we're talking affordable housing. I put affordable in air quotes because there are so many different understandings of what affordable housing is. But yeah, the highly compact housing comes with a lot of issues of its own, for sure.
Yeah. So changing those rezoning requirements, it should be done fairly,
Yes,
right?
yeah,
Where
100%.
we're not like, oh, we're going to, put more restrictions on single family housing and we're going to allow these, bigger corporations who have the capabilities to do or who are specialized in the multifamily because they benefit from that as well. A lot of developers, with the multifamily housing, I'm sure it's, more cost effective or it, benefits them more. I'm not sure, but my fear is just that, you're going to start tipping the scales one way or another. You're putting your thumb on the scale in one way, and then, you're all of these, developers who specialize maybe in the single family, they're going to be leaving, and they're going to go build the single family homes somewhere else. And perhaps single family homes are in demand right now, right?
That yeah, and that's what's happening. From my understanding, is again the single family developers look at what they can build a house for here in Bloomington, look at what they can build it for in Champaign or Peoria, and they're choosing to go elsewhere because they can build it cheaper and make more money and do it faster. So
Mm, Okay.
that's where we're at.
All right. Well, we're going to take a quick break. We're going to stay in the stream, folks. You can go to YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, and Rumble. Ben is going to be with me until 8 o'clock, right? You
Yeah,
promised. You
sure,
promised.
sure.
Just kidding. Ben Zimmerman, we're going to be talking about your opponent not saying the pledge. I want to circle back to that because Jenna Kearns came under fire. A voter had sent a news tip to our tip line and started sending us all of our emails back and forth between he and Jenna Kearns. And she, said that she sits in quiet reflection, and that's why she didn't say the pledge. I'd be curious your thoughts on saying the Pledge of Allegiance. Are you going to say the Pledge of Allegiance as a council member? So we're going to come right back. You're listening to Conservative Cat Cities 92.9, the news and talk Bloomington Normal. All right, folks. Welcome to Conservative Cat Cities 92.9. Smash that like button, share this out with your friends. Benjamin Zimmerman, he's joining me, Bloomington City Council candidate. Sorry, Ben, if I sound a little like funky and like my chipmunk cheeks are full. I had wisdom tooth surgery. So I'm back now. So you guys can go ahead, subscribe, like the button, or hit the like button. We've got Ben Zimmerman on. Ben, number one, are you going to say the pledge when you're a councilman or no?
100%. I grew up in Cub Scouts and Boy Scouts at a very young age. Went through all through at least junior high in scouting, and was taught a deep respect for God and country and duty to God and country, deep respect for the flag. I was taught how to properly fly the flag, how to display the flag, how to properly dispose of the flag. All of these things were instilled in me at a very young age, and so a level of patriotism, I guess you could say, is there. It's deep within me, and yes, I'll 100% say the Pledge of Allegiance. My kids say the Pledge of Allegiance every morning at school, as I'm sure you did growing up. In fact, my kids go to the magnet school for Spanish-speaking students at Cedar Ridge. One of them has graduated from there now, but my middle child is still there, and so they learn to say the pledge in English and in Spanish every morning, and they can recite it like the back of their hand. And they're also proud to say the pledge.
So are you
yes,
Spanish speaking?
I am not Spanish speaking. No.
Okay. I was like,
9, I guess you could say.
Spanish speaking. I was like, oh, that's interesting. So yeah, Jenna Kearns not saying the pledge. That's just a little strange. The whole quiet reflection. I think about the gratitude my gratitude that I have for the opportunity to serve my community, and I choose not to say the words out loud. What do you think? Are you hearing from voters who are concerned about this with Jenna Kearns, or is this a non-issue?
I've seen a little bit of both, to be honest. I don't want to dwell on Jenna's decisions here. I just want to acknowledge that yes, I'm aware that she doesn't say the pledge. And I've as of last week, you saw the kind of the news articles and circulation of that information more widely than it had been before. And she has people cheering in her camp and praising her for her decision not to say the pledge. And you of course have people who take offense to that. So um, it, yeah, I don't know. I still don't. I did read her response of what she does during the time that they say the pledge and reflects on the gravity of what she's doing there. Um, but I haven't seen her answer why she chooses not to say the pledge. That wasn't really called out in her responses. So uh, it's surprising to me that somebody wants to serve in such a capacity and just refuses to say the pledge. It confuses me. I would still like to hear from her why, just simply why. But again, at this point, I just want to look forward to what we have coming up in the future and reflect on my own campaign. But I'll let you throw in your thoughts there.
Yeah, yep. Well, we're coming back for our radio friends, and I definitely will throw in some thoughts. I'll be right back, folks. We're going back on for our radio friends. Woohoo! Hey, good morning. You're listening to Conservative Cat Cities 92.9, the news and talk Bloomington Normal. So do appreciate you tuning in. Go ahead, find me on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, and Rumble. On YouTube, on the stream, Benjamin Zimmerman. He's running for Bloomington City Council in Ward 1. Real quick, are you going to say the pledge when you're elected to be the councilman?
Yes, of course I'm going to say the pledge. I said the pledge growing up every day in school. My kids still say the pledge every day in school in both English and Spanish. They go to Cedar Ridge, or at least my middle child still goes to Cedar Ridge. My oldest has graduated from there, but they say it in both languages. Can say it forward and backwards. And I was a Boy Scout growing up, and so that duty to God and country and respecting the flag was all instilled in me at a very young age, and that's one of the reasons I'm choosing to run, is just that call of duty. I've spent the last many years establishing myself, my family, my residence, my career, and I'm pretty settled here now, and so I feel that this is my time to step up and serve. And that call to serve God and country instilled in me at a very young age, along with respect to the flag, is one of the biggest reasons I'm doing this, to make sure my constituents have a voice that's heard at city council. I want to make sure that we're hearing what they have to say, and that those issues and concerns are brought forth and addressed.
Another topic I want to hit while I've got you here, Ben, is this topic of Jenna Kearns coming under fire, or specifically Kearns and Cody Hendricks. Donna Bolin, former Bloomington alderman. City code is clear regarding political party endorsement put forth by a candidate running in a nonpartisan municipal election. Candidates for public office are or should be held to a higher standard of integrity. Willful violation of city code by a candidate in a municipal election makes a mockery of the legislative body in which they are seeking office. So we're talking about the city code, chapter 2, section 13E. It prohibits candidates for mayor or council, so that would be Jenna Kearns, from being nominated or endorsed by political parties. So Jenna Kearns, running for Ward 1, has come under scrutiny because there's a mailer out there that reads Jenna Kearns is the only candidate who supports Democrats. Okay. So I want to talk with you because it's interesting. According to media reports, Kearns had said that she embraces the nonpartisan qualities, but kind of question whether you embrace nonpartisan qualities of the city council. Can you talk about, nonpartisanship, and do you embrace the nonpartisan aspects of being on city council?
Yes, absolutely. I agree. I saw the flyer. It wasn't mailed to me. I believe that she had a targeted mailing list of recipients who would not be so willing to come forth with what she put on her flyer. But some did. And that flyer, as you mentioned, indicates that she supports Democrats and labor unions. And as you also mentioned on the other radio station that interviewed me, they asked her, what separates us. And one of the things that she called out was the fact that my campaign material states that I want to keep partisan politics out of local government, which is the truth. But she she's not so sure, in air quotes is what they put into writing there. And so I actually reached out to the interviewer there and sent him a copy of that mailer that was sent out by Jenna. And so he made a little bit of a revision to that article that's published on their site. Anyway, yes, my vision is truly to keep the partisan politics out of local government. Here, we're talking about the water, we're talking about the potholes, we're talking about the local issues that matter to people, the housing situation. All these things are nonpartisan issues. Yes, I don't think it's a secret that I am a registered Republican. Anybody who has a voter list can see that. But that's one of the main reasons that I put into my publication that I am seeking to keep the nonpartisan feel of the office. I may be a registered Republican, but those views are not something that I'm going to bring into the council. It is a nonpartisan seat. I acknowledge that, and that's my intention here. I'm not running. I have not. Nobody from the party asked me to run. It just happens to be that yes, I do have an R next to my name. I was raised a conservative, very conservative family, and those values have just stuck with me all along. And so, as I mentioned, the duty to God and country, it just all kind of plays together, and that's why I think the Republicans, you have seen probably that they have chosen to support me and put out on their Facebook media, that they're in support of me for my candidacy. They just acknowledge the values that I have, and that's really the reason that they're choosing to support me in that way.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, and do you think that Kearns potentially, or even Cody Hendricks, I think in his mailers, they were a little bit more blatant, where his mailer reads, Cody's a candidate endorsed by the McLean County Democrats. Do you think, Kearns and then Hendricks, either of them violated city code, and should they be held accountable?
I do, based on the fact that it's on their campaign material. I have very diligently ensured that none of that makes it to my campaign material. And so I think for that reason that it's a pretty black and white rule, and that there were some rules broken there.
Folks, we got to take a quick break, but we're going to be right back in just a minute with Ben Zimmerman, and we're going to wrap up the show. You're listening to Conservative Cat. All right, Ben, we got about a minute, and then we're going to hop back on for our radio friends. But real quick, what are the top issues Bloomington residents are facing, and what are you hearing on the ground when you're campaigning?
Water quality, streets, sidewalks, street lighting has been a topic that comes up quite a bit. The homeless situation, all these things are top of mind. Making sure that we're doing the right thing with taxpayers' dollars, fiscal responsibility, all those things are things that I'm hearing out on the streets, especially the water quality and the streets, the potholes. Those are the biggest things that I've been hearing.
Yeah, I can't help but feel like the consolidated sewer system, and I know that they've been trying to work on that at the city level, but just a couple of years ago we had like these huge floods, which is interesting because now we're in a
Yes.
drought, but we had these huge floods before. But that it just feels so dated. Everything
Yeah.
just feels so dated, right?
Yep. Yeah, and it's because we were choosing to spend our money on capital projects versus ensuring that the infrastructure is maintained in such a way that we don't have to dump all kinds of money into it all at once.
He said it, folks. He said it out loud. It's capital projects. It's capital projects. All right, we're going to be back for our radio friends. You're listening to Conservative Cat. Woohoo! We got a couple of minutes here before the show wraps up. Ben Zimmerman, he's been on with me this morning, and he just told me on the stream that it's capital projects and we need to focus on things like the consolidated sewer system, the water. Ben, tell me who you are in a couple of minutes. I know we've only got a couple of minutes, but who you are and why you're running, and some of the issues you're hearing on the campaign trail.
I'm Ben Zimmerman. I'm a local guy, family guy. I live here in Bloomington. I drive on our roads. I drink our water. I am invested in the community. My kids go to unified schools. I just want to represent everyone else here the same way that I would want to be represented. I feel a strong sense of duty to step up and serve in this capacity, and that's why I'm stepping up to serve. I just want to do the right thing for Bloomington. I want to hear your voices. I want to make sure your voices are heard. And really, those are the reasons that I've chosen to run.
And so what do you think about some of these capital projects? The Bloomington Public Library, the Aquatic Center, downtown streetscape. What do you think?
All these things make the city look beautiful. We were at the library for a campaign forum last weekend before this one, and it's a nice facility. It's beautiful. Did we need to spend all that money to make it look beautiful? I'm not sure. Not when I look around and I see the state of our streets. I know that we have water drainage problems, as you have mentioned. The water quality, there's lots of things. We just need to make sure that we're investing money to ensure that the infrastructure pieces are taken care of, that we're investing for the future. Everybody wants a beautiful downtown. Maybe not everybody, but a lot of people like to go downtown and see that it's a beautiful place to be, and the hopes and dreams of it being a much nicer place in the future is really nice. All those things have already been approved and are going to proceed. We just need to make sure that we're spending that money wisely and taking a good hard look at the contractors that we're hiring and making sure that things are done in an order where we're not re-spending money once something has been done, that we have to tear it back up and go in and do it again. We just need to make sure that we're taking care of our people first.
Well, Ben Zimmerman, thank you so much for being on the program with me this morning. Where do we go to find out more about you?
ZimmermanForBloomington.com. You've got one more day. The early voting continues today until 7 p.m. and then you've got your normal polling places tomorrow. So again, ZimmermanForBloomington.com is my website, and then I also have a Facebook page, which is linked there on my website that you can find.
Well, wonderful. You guys have a blessed rest of your day. Bye-bye. I love you. We'll be back again tomorrow morning, bright and early, 6 a.m. All right. We're done with the radio, friends. And Ben, I can't thank you enough for being on the stream with me this morning. And good luck in your race.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
All right, folks, you guys have a blessed day. Subscribe to that channel, hit that like button, share this out with your friends, and be sure to come back tomorrow. We are also going to have 2 shows tomorrow. So we're going to do 6 to 8 in the morning and then 7 to 9 p.m. for the local elections here in Bloomington Normal. And you guys are going to want to check that out because that is the most anticipated show of the year. So you will not want to miss the 7 to 9 p.m. show right here on Conservative Cat YouTube channel and on the air, Cities 92.9. We'll catch you later. Bye-bye.